The Liquitex SFX mediums range is, I think, the one that's the most fun because it's got so many interesting textures and sheens. It's like special effects in the movie industry. And it's quite a large range, so definitely go to liquitex.com to see more about that, but we'll take a look at a few of them today. This one is pouring medium. So this is gonna make your paint the consistency that's best for poured paintings, and we'll just put a little bit of that out. So it's quite fluid. And the thing about it is when you use that, it's going to, again, give you that optimal consistency, but it's not gonna have any crazing, which is the situation you get when you have cracking in a paint film. And you might see that sometimes if you leave paint out on your palette and it dries, you might get this sort of shrinking and cracking that occurs. So you're not gonna have that with pouring medium. And here's an example of it right here, which is really pretty. This is a bunch of colors swirled together. I think it almost looks, maybe not the magenta there, but the rest of it almost looks like seeing the Earth from space. It's got a lot of neat things going on there. And related to that would be string gel. So this is a funky texture and effect as well. And let's take a little bit of this out, but you're gonna see this is quite different than pouring medium. So as the name suggests, string gel, and watch when we put that out, it's got a very honey-like consistency. So you can really just kind of drip that all over the place, almost like icing on a cake. It's a lot of fun. Now, of course, both of these can be mixed with color. I definitely think that's something you'd want to do, but you could also let them dry and put color on top of them as well. But really, again, I think they shine best when they have the color on them or mixed with them, and that's what you see here with a string gel. So these are kind of nice to see next to each other. Again, that pour, it's going to spread out. You're going to have more, I almost say like calligraphy lines that you can get with this. So a little bit more control with the string gel. And if you want to get shimmery, here is some iridescent medium. Now this is going to work best with colors that are quite transparent. And if we bring that up to the light, you can get some of that shimmery quality, but we really start to see it much more when we have, again, the color added, and you tilt that in the light, you get that nice effect there. So really, again, best with transparent colors. Another one in the range is natural sand. So this is a fun one. It gives that really thick, gritty surface texture. And one of the things I always have people ask me about this is, couldn't I just take something like gloss gel or matte gel and add sand to it? And I say, yes, technically speaking, you could. But if you grab sand from the beach, you might have all sorts of contaminants in there. You could get playground sand that's filtered and clean, maybe from a hardware store. But if you're trying to mix that in with your matte or gloss gel or even your satin gel, you're gonna really have to do that in a very thorough way. Plus you have to buy a huge bag of it too that you might not need. So this offers it in this jar, which is nice and ready to go. There's also fabric medium in the range. And fabric medium is great when you really want to control the flow of your acrylic color on fabric and get all these beautiful sort of stained and watercolor-like effects. But what I want to show you in a little bit more detail is our masking fluid. So I'm going to take this sheet right here, and I have masking fluid already dry here with Liquitex ink on top of it. And comes in this little bottle, and it's a latex-based formula. So keep that in mind. That's important if you're somebody who has a latex allergy. This is not a product you want to use if that's the case. But what I have, I'm going to put a little bit more in here, but I have some in a little plastic cup here. Put a little bit more in there. Now, when I use this, one of the things you want to keep in mind is that your brush can get very clogged up. The hairs of it can get quite clogged up with the latex because it dries quite quickly. And to avoid that, one of the things that I'll often do is I'll take a little bit of liquid soap, liquid detergent, and put that on the brush, and that'll act as a little bit of a barrier. So when I dip in my masking fluid and then put that down on paper, I can rinse off my brush and the masking fluid will come off with that detergent. And I don't have to worry about anything else with that because I'm not mixing it with paint. I wouldn't want to mix soap with the paint or anything like that. It's just the masking fluid that's going to be removed. So let's just put a little bit of it down. Now this could be tinted if you wanted to slightly tint it, because putting this down on white paper right now, that's pretty hard to see, right? So I could tint that if I wanted to see exactly where I'm putting that. But here we have it dried. And now the masking fluid's going to work I think best with either Liquitex ink or soft body. I don't want to get a super thick layer of heavy body on top of this because then that could be a little bit hard to remove. And so what we can do is I can just use my finger. Now, one thing I should mention, if you're doing this with your finger, probably should make sure your fingers are clean so that you don't mar the paper at all. But you could use a little, pickup eraser would be fine. And once you have this starting to remove like this, it just kind of gathers, it's almost like a snowball. It starts to just gather more and more of the masking fluid and it becomes easier to peel. But you get these really nice graphic marks. And I like too that, you can splatter this for some really, really interesting effects, but it's a nice way to block off areas where you don't want color. And if you wanted to put another color on top of here now, of course you could do that. And I've got little sections here as well. So you can see it's really easy to lift. This will work good on watercolor paper. It'll work on canvas as well. So a lot of fun to work with that. So keep in mind, definitely check out the other offerings in the effects range. And for me, I would say this, I'm mostly a representational painter, but I really like process. And when I say that, for me, the act of actually painting and putting marks down on a surface can be as satisfying as the end result is. And part of that is because I like to explore the layering of color, the thicker textures as opposed to thinner textures, areas where underlying color shows through. And I think if you're somebody who's at a point in your artistic process where you're really looking to get into exploring a lot more, the effects range is going to be something that you're going to get quite a bit of excitement out of.